What is up, Tech House Ninjas? My name is Sam World, and today I got a request, a very good request, because I've never made a video on this topic, but I remember I used to be so like, how do I achieve that? I would Google it and it wouldn't come up. However, over time, as I started learning more about dynamic range and about velocities and compression, I finally kind of figured out how to get the vibe, and today I'm going to be teaching it to you guys. Now, the request was, yo, Sam, I've been trying to get this pumping drum vibe to my track, similar to L.I. Brown's Inside My Head. I believe that's the name of the track. How can I do it? I'm sure many other producers out there would like to know. It was somewhere around that. That's what the person said. So today I'm going to be going into this world with you guys and pretty much telling you guys all my tips on everything I know to get this vibe. Now, I wasn't lying when I said that I went on Google and Googled how to get pumping style drums or that pump in the drums, and I just couldn't find anything on it. But to me, when something is pumping, essentially, if we have a let's say a closed hat loop, it's going to be like that would be more of a pump. Some of you guys might consider that sort of like a sidechain vibe, and that is going to be one of my tips. Sidechain is a great way to add a sort of pump vibe to your track, you know, similar to the dead mouse sidechaining trick. But other tricks that I have for you guys are going to include velocity, and the most important tool at your disposal to get that pump effect on your drums is going to be compression. With proper compression, you can essentially dynamically shape the drums to get that pumping effect. And today I will be showing you guys how to bring all these tips together to get, again, a more pumping vibe in your drums. As always, guys, if you want to support my channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. That's where you can find a lot of my sound design work. And this Friday, I'm actually going to be releasing a new Tech House sample pack and construction kits for you guys. It's going to be a smaller pack to be more supplementary to the main Deceiver pack, which is the big one for Tech House. But as always, guys, I appreciate you guys' support. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to make videos at this constant rate that I do. So thank you guys for allowing me to teach you and to help you reach your desired sound. And with that being said, let's get straight into this tutorial. Welcome inside of Ableton. So I've brought a couple of loops together from the brand new pack. I don't know what I'm calling it yet, but let's call it Deceiver Volume 2. It's going to be 5 construction kits and individual drum samples from those construction kits, along with some bass shots for you guys. So I've used those to kind of make this loop here, which is going to sound like this. Okay, so the drums sound okay, but they're not really doing anything interesting. They don't sound like they're pumping. They sound pretty much like you just brought them in and didn't do anything with them. And this is what I find a lot of people tend to do. So today I'm going to be teaching you guys some tips, again, to get these drums to pump. Now, the first tip is going to have to deal with velocity. And usually you're going to find yourself doing this more on sounds like closed hats, percussive instruments, stuff that is playing constantly or isn't the main center of attention, doesn't need to be driving. So you might not see velocity changes on open hats, claps, or rides. However, when it comes to closed hats, when we look at them, you know, very boring. Essentially, it's just a ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. So when it comes to velocities, to make this pump, guys, you need to have various velocities, which is going to give you more dynamics and more movement on the hat. This is the first way of getting stuff to pump. So I'll show you an example here. I'll pull these guys down here, quiet, quiet, and then loud, and then quiet, and then again, repeat. Now, if I do this to this closed hat, you're going to see what happens. It sounds like it's pumping a little bit, as you can hear. So it's getting that pumping vibe to it. So you don't have to go crazy like this, and there are various variations you can do. You can definitely go into the groove pool of Ableton and find some really cool ones as well. However, here, just kind of go with what you feel the vibe is. Do you want it to start strong and then get quiet, and then strong, quiet like gallops, or do you want it to be strong, quiet, quiet, strong, quiet, quiet? So these are various possibilities that you can do yourself. And as you can see, it's going to change the content of that rhythm a bit more, give it a bit more swing, a bit more of a pumping vibe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the latter, and I'm just going to go like so. I'm going to have this guy here be relatively kind of close to loudness, full velocity, then quiet, and then loud, and then quiet again like so. And then we'll just repeat that. Okay, and now we're just going to put it across, and now we're going to hear the closed hat. Now, if I get rid of one of them, this is how it sounds like before. And now with the velocity. And with. Okay. So keep that in mind. Velocities are a great way to do it. In this drum loop that we have going on, we don't really have a lot of elements that could use velocity changes, but that's the first thing that we can do. Now, the next thing to get more of a pumping vibe and better drums is going to have to deal with panning drums. And this is a mistake I see a lot of people do. A lot of people will put drums that they get from sample packs and just be at their dismay. Now, with my sample packs, what I like to do most of the time is I like to make sure that all the drums I make are in mono, as this is going to allow the producer themselves to pan these without having to worry about the stereo imaging. So, for example, the problem with this loop here is everything is coming down the middle. So we got to open it up. Now, like I said, the guy that messaged me was talking a little bit about the Li Brown track. And one of the things that he does is he pans his open hat all the way to the left. Now, if we hear that before and after, it opens up the mix, the drum section a bit more without having to use inorganic, let's put it that way, techniques. So what I mean by this is you're grabbing an open hat, which is mono, and forcing it into stereo by messing the phase up on it. So we pan it to the left just to get that width on it. From there, the clap, we can choose to leave it in the center so that it brings everything together. But the closed hat, we can definitely pan it to the right. From here, you could definitely pan the clap a bit more, but it's not needed. So now when we do it, the next trick we can do is we can add a bit of delay to the clap. Usually the clap lands exactly with the kick and they mesh kind of together. It's sort of like a layer, the kick and the clap together. And it's a good layer as the clap's really not going to have a lot of low frequencies there, so they're not going to fight. However, what you can do to maybe give it a little bit more of a pump is just delay it by a few milliseconds. And you can do this with Ableton's delay feature here. You're going to go down here, click there, and then you can just set 6 milliseconds, maybe all the way up to 10. Just fine tune from there. But I'll show you guys what that sounds like. So let's play it one more time. Notice how it just opens up a bit more. It doesn't sound so like pah, but more like pah, pah to it. It's a beautiful thing. Adding a bit of delay. Simple stuff, simple stuff. All right, guys. And for the final tip, and this is the moneymaker in my opinion. If someone were to approach me and say, send $1,000, teach me one tip to make my drums pump. If they pump, I'll let you have that money. I wouldn't say velocity. I wouldn't say panning. I wouldn't even say delay. These are supplemental things. If you really want your drums to pump like crazy amounts, compression is where it's at. Now, this sort of compression is not the best. Let's put this right here because this works only for certain stuff if you really want it like this. That's why you see a lot of compressors out there that they're trying to sell you the compressor and they're like transparent compression, transparent limiting. All this means is that when you compress or you limit with those things, it's not going to sound like, you're not going to hear the change. You're not going to hear the compression. Some people like this form of compression while others like to slam stuff. Now, I'll show you guys a very exaggerated example. So I have here my drum bus and I've set up a glue compressor there. And what I've done is I've lowered the attack all the way down in release and have a ratio of 4. Now, when it comes to the pump in the compressor, the release is going to be the sweet spot. It's what's going to give you that pop. If you have a long release, it's not going to pump. But if you have a very short one, it's going to pump. Check it out. Okay, obviously this is a bit too extreme, but you get the idea with it. So how do we program this? Well, this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to slow the drums. We're going to bring up a new compressor that hasn't been fucked by me. All right, and then from here, guys, the attack is important, but not as important as the release. So the attack, you can set it to anything like a very 0.01, 0.3 to 1. You really want something of a low attack, and then we're going to pull back on the threshold until we get a few dB. Essentially, we want the transients of the drums to trigger this, not the whole drum itself. Now, if I have a long release, look what happens. Essentially, I'm still getting a bit of that volume movement there, and that's what's going to create the pump, but it's so slow that it really doesn't create a nice little pump effect for me. So the release, you're gonna essentially use that to control the pump. So if you really want it to pump hard, low release. Now let's make up the volume. Notice how when I have this compressor on, the hats just come to the front. That open hat finally hits like the L.I. Brown track. My closed hats just sound a little better. My ride just comes up to the roof, so I'm going to lower the volume down on that. Hear that? That's just pristine. Now, if I mess with the release, notice how when I have a longer release, it sounds like everything's holding on a little bit longer, latching on more. While when I have a lower release, from there, dialing with the release. Your attack, you can put it wherever you want, you know, get a feel for it. But the important part is going to be your release. Alright guys, and that is going to be the end of the video. I'm currently editing it and I just realized that, oh my god, I didn't record an outro. But the biggest tip of them all, guys, for me was the glue compressor. Not a lot of people compress, not a lot of people know how to use compressors with confidence. But again, compressors are great for dynamic changes, and a pumping effect like people want is something that has to deal with the compression of the sound, the dynamic range of the sound. So definitely try these things out. Hopefully they work out for you, and I'll catch you guys next time. You guys take care, and you guys have an amazing day. As always, if you want to support my channel, evilsounds.com, and you guys have a good night.